Now we move to the monthly report from the community boards, and we have a number of community board chairs and deputy chairs in the room that I will invite to the table one at a time to speak to their part of this report and bring us news from their community boards and from their communities. So the first of those is Lee Sampson here already. Lee, good morning. The Waihoro Spraden Cashmere Community Board, you're the Deputy Chair. Great to have you with us, and we look forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Morena. Firstly, apologies from Carolyn. I don't think she'll mind us saying she had a bereavement early in the week, so she lost her brother, so our thoughts are with Carolyn today. I've got no Part A's for you. Recent decisions in the last month, a couple of highlights. We've allocated 85,000 of our Strengthening Communities budget to some very worthwhile causes. We look forward to updating you on those through the year. And similarly, Community Service Awards, Community and Youth Service Awards, we've nominated our 24, so we look forward to bringing those back to you in due course as well. So, okay, this is our bouquet for the month. You'll know this junction, it's Worsley's Cashmere Hoonhay Road. Probably didn't have the best start in some ways. I know Tim liaised with some of the shopkeepers. It's been quite a complex capital works when you're working around live businesses, a very busy junction. So, but I just have to say, recently Parna and the team at HEB have done exceptionally well last week, working through rain, sleet, more rain, just to keep those works on programme. So I really appreciate the work, or the community board really appreciates the work that's gone in there over the last few weeks. So well done to the team there. Thank you. Housing intensification briefing. Kudos to John Higgins and the team. It's really important that we keep communities with us on this journey that we're going on currently. We give the community an overview of the framework that we have to deal with and also the pending changes in terms of the national policy statement. So it's just really, really important that we keep communities with us on this journey. So really fruitful, and we had some excellent feedback from the community. So again, it's just great that we bring communities with us on the journey that we're on. So thanks again to staff for the excellent presentation. A couple of community projects. These are why you're on a community board sometimes. This is just the very small amounts of funding that we've allocated that have had a big impact. So the pictures on the left are Cobham Street and Littleton Street, where we've just rejuvenated a small community garden. And to the right there is Lansdowne Community Centre and Play Centre, where the early childhood teachers, local community members have obviously worked on that mural to really brighten that facility up. So well done, the team involved there. Living wage, we had a presentation by a living wage Aotearoa last week, so I have got a brief segue into it. It is something our community board is passionate about. We did discuss it post-meeting, and I would like to say that, you know, we said earlier, trickle-down economics doesn't work. We know that, we all know that in the room. You've got a severe sphere of influence here to be able to show leadership. So I do implore you to show that leadership. You have the opportunity to impact hundreds, and I surmise thousands of lives in Christchurch. So people aren't just concentrating on survival. So we implore you to show that leadership today. I've got some expertise in procurement through previous roles, so you might know that. I've done dozens of tender evaluations, and I can tell you this, that leadership is not tweaking a procurement document weighting. From 1% to 5%. It isn't. That isn't leadership. You can manipulate a number of things in procurement, non-price weighting, price weighting, so it's not going to do the job that you need it to do. So that's my expertise, that's my knowledge. So I do implore you to show leadership today, so thank you. I'm going to go on to, I think we've got a short video, so I'm going to keep, I think this is our last snippet, but we've got a short video, hopefully, and I'm going to let the folk at Rowley speak to this, so hopefully got a 2-minute video. Have we? Yep, let's go for it.
Every Friday, elderly people in the Hoonhay area gather here at the Rowley Resource Centre.
I don't really know who pays for it, but on a Friday they do a seniors thing and we can come and eat.
Just come and meet and just have a good laugh and something to eat and, and just enjoy everybody's company.
But this isn't all that happens here.
So the centre's open Monday to Friday, and so there's often classes happening throughout the day. So on Monday we have a gardening group. Tuesday we have an adult and numeracy and literacy course from Hagley. Wednesdays we have stone carving. Also Tuesday is community shed. So the folk from the community can come in and do little projects. So it actually started off, 30-ish years ago by a couple of nuns, and they started off with a young mums group in their lounge. It grew too big for their lounge, so they shifted into a bigger space, and it just grew from there. For about the last 6 years we've been here at number 89.
It's just that whānau feeling.
I think places like this are at the heart of the community.
Always having a barbecue, always eating.
They had a lady coming in and she showed us how to use computers.
But then there's also people dropping in to use the photocopier.
I love the feel of the place. I think it's very welcoming. The people are very welcoming.
I think the important thing is having that homely environment and people are welcome to come.
So that's just some of our local superstars. Without that rich tapestry of community, life is very hollow. So we've got some. It's just very satisfying on a community board level to see those type of things coming to fruition. And we only support them on a pretty low level, but some great things coming out of that little resource centre. So I think that's us. I just want to say one more thing, if I can. Our thoughts go out to the Podmore family. They are based in Kashmir, so. A very sad time for that family. Olivia left us far too soon, but she's left a huge footprint. So I just feel for that family this week. So I just wanted to say it as they are a local family and they are well known. So as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Now there is the opportunity for any questions if councillors have questions.
Sorry, I'm away.
No questions. All right. Thank you very much. And please send our regards and condolences to Carolyn as well. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. All right. So next I would invite Tori Peden, the chair of the Te Pātaka Ōrākei Banks Peninsula Community Board, to the table. Tori, good morning. Thanks for joining us. And news from Banks Peninsula. Thank you.
Now on your agenda this morning you have two partes from the Banks Peninsula Community Board. Both issues did come to the board recently and both went through without too much discussion. It all made sense to us and we were happy to pass those recommendations on to the council. Decisions made under delegation. The board has made some key decisions about the Wairua and Urumau reserves, which are of focused interest from the community in terms of their use and ongoing access. Recognising the Wairua Reserve, Wairua Reserve's nationally significant biodiversity and cultural significance, the board recommended to council aims to ensure the purpose of the trust will work to safeguard these vital aspects of the land. Board also approved a revision to the terms of reference for the Takapaniki Reserve Co-Governance Group to align with the 2019 revisions to the Council's Delegations Register, and we welcomed a new representative of Nuku Runanga to the Akaroa Museum Advisory Committee. Big topic in our board is the State Highway 75 speed reductions, or looking at speed review from Waka Kotahi. One of our board's priorities has been advocating for our roads and footpaths be maintained and improved. Now, State Highway 75 is a key thoroughfare that connects our communities and serves a major corridor into Christchurch. It's no surprise when Waka Kotahi announced they were looking at the speed limit. that it generated a lot of interest in the community and prompted strong feedback from residents across the peninsula. Given this strong interest and the potential impacts to our residents, the board drafted feedback highlighting some of the key issues and concerns. For example, speed limit outside Wairio Marae and through Little River, and also submitted feedback to Waka Kotahi during the public engagement period. We look forward to working with Council when we go into formal consultation later in the year. Good news, we've got an update to the Little River Library. Recently completed refurbishments of the Little River Service Centre and Library has breathed new life into the space and is well received by the community. Around 700 items have been removed from the shelves prior to the refurbishment. Library staff are continuing to work with customers to determine what books and authors they are interested in reading, so staff can bring out books that appeal to local readers and meet the needs of the community. It is a well-used space. We all enjoy that space. More good news from Banks Peninsula. The board is pleased to share news that two cherished community assets, the Rod Donald Banks Peninsula Trust and Alton Bradley Park, have signed a memorandum of understanding for the ongoing management of Te Aho Matariki, a 500 hectare section of iconic land that includes the two highest points in Christchurch, Aotearoa, both Mount Herbert and Mount Bradley. The Trust will continue to work closely with Alton Bradley Park and Te Hapu o Ngātautawhiki as Te Aho Matariki becomes a biodiversity hotspot, completing 1,700 hectares. Network continuous protection and stunning recreational assets for walking, biking and climbing. Look, this is really exciting for our ward and our city. It's fantastic. The land is to be protected in perpetuity with a conservation covenant, and the Banks Peninsula community are excited. This is just fantastic news and we're all really excited about it. One last thing that has also come up recently again is the Godley House site. Now, Godley House was an historic house used as accommodation, cafe and bar until it was damaged in an earthquake. Regarded as the heart of the village, Godley House provided for social connection and played a key role in the economic viability of Diamond Harbour Village. The Diamond Harbour community have been campaigning for 10 years for a replacement facility, including a hospitality venue. These efforts have been complicated by the site being listed as a recreational reserve. The board has been working with the Parks Unit and facilitated engagement with key stakeholders, including the Diamond Harbour and Southern Bays communities, to find a solution. We're approaching DOC to consider partial revocation of the reserve status to accommodate the community's wishes. It's one of the solutions that's being proposed, and we are working with staff and DOC in these matters. So that's a bit of a nutshell of what we've been going through over the last month or so. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Great.
Tori, thank you very much indeed. Are there any questions? No questions? All right, that's great. Thanks very much indeed for joining us this morning. Thank you. All right, so next I would invite Kelly Barber, Chair of the Waitai Coastal Burwood Community Board, to the table. Kelly, good morning. Good to have you with us. News from the East.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Bit going on over in the East, as usual. So decisions made under delegation. I just wanted to highlight a couple to you. The first one in particular is the approval of the South Brighton Tennis Club installing 6 new lighting poles. This is a really, really big tennis club and does a lot of great work in our community, and it's a real centre for the people of South Shore. They got shovel-ready funding for these, so I'm pretty excited about that. Just a bit further down, approval of 54 applications for the board's 2021-22 Strengthening Communities Fund. We'll talk a wee bit about this later. And also we've allocated funding for discretionary response fund towards the following projects. So I Love New Brighton is a big festival in summer in New Brighton, really important for the community. It brings everyone together, gives that real good feel, and people come from all over the city to go to it. Summer with Your Neighbours, that's another great initiative where people have barbecues and invite people from their streets or whatever to get together. All good community positive stuff. I just want to go down to the community Pride Garden Awards. I mean, people looking after their places and making their garden look good and their city look good is definitely something we should encourage, and we're really proud to be involved in supporting that. Parklands at Play is another great initiative that we do. It brings everybody together in summer in Parklands on one of the parks there. I mean, Parklands is a quiet sort of achiever. It's a place where a lot of families live. It was designed to have every house within 500 metres of a park, and there's lots of little playgrounds and parks in the area. You know, some of our famous Cantabrians live there, raising their families, like Dallas Seymour and Julie Seymour, who are well known to many people. A really important part of our city is Parklands, and we're going to be highlighting a wee bit over the next few months about their need for a community centre. There's a place called the Pukeko Centre, which is trying to raise the final money they need to get a facility for their community, and so we're going to keep that front and centre for the next wee while. Okay, moving on to page 2, the Matariki Fireworks Spectacular. I don't know whether many of you got the opportunity to go down and experience this on Saturday, July the 10th. It was an amazing night. We had amazing weather, and we we entertained people from all over the city. It was a fantastic occasion. New Brighton was absolutely packed, as evidenced by the time it took to get out of there after the show. But there were food stalls in the mall and kapa haka and various performances, and there was just so much going on. So that I was down there myself. We actually got an invite to the hot pools. They were quite innovative. They pumped up the heat of all the cooler pools to 38 degrees because they wanted to have a really good experience for everybody who was there, and I think that was really innovative. And you can continue to be very proud of the investment you've put into that area, because those pools have been an absolute success. Thank you for your nodding, Catherine. Appreciate that. So moving on to page 3. So if I can find it on my paper. Yeah, so our Strengthening Communities Fund, 54 applications is a lot, and we've got a lot of groups in our community who are doing great work. We also established a Discretionary Response Fund and a Youth Development Fund, which we haven't had before, and these are now open for application. There are a lot of groups that do good work, and it's great that we have these funds for them. I personally would love to see each community board have a lot more money, but that's a conversation for another day. Item 4. So this is the North New Brighton Community Centre. I'm sure many of you have been to it at some stage. We've just spent $236,000 as a council on upgrading it, and I just wanted to give a big thank you to the council for that. I mean, basically they did a major 2-month refurbishment with painting, new doors, new signage, new appliances for the kitchen, new floors or sort of refurbished, and toilet upgrades, etc. It's a fantastic community space and a real asset. It's really, really well utilised. It has killer views if you ever want to have a function there, and I've been to a few really good ones, and it's available to be hired. So thank you for that refurbishment. It's much appreciated by the community. So, item 5. So this is an example of youth being involved in local government. So some lads from Shirley Boys High School came along to our public forum at our last meeting, and 5 senior students. They're a bit nervous, but they represented themselves and their school and their generation really well. They came to talk about 2 specific issues. One was vaping on or near the school grounds. If you look at the top left hand, there's sort of a photo with buildings and an arrow going through. That's a public space. People can walk through there and vape, apparently, while they're on their way to QE2 for a bit of exercise. So the boys sort of thought it would be nice if there were some signs there, so they were recommending we put in some no smoking signs on the footpath rather than put up a pole, etc. So it takes a bit of courage to come along and do these things, and it's really good to see young lads getting involved in their community. The other issue was they brought another group from the same school, same class. This is a sort of a social studies kind of community action class, and these lads brought along a petition. If I understand, it wasn't didn't quite fit in with the legal requirements, but we let them sort of speak to it, and they talked about the community or members of the community who would like to see New Brighton Road sort of refurbished. So those of you that know New Brighton Road, it sort of starts in Shirley, heads through Burwood Park and along the river all the way and feeds into Brighton. I mean, other roads have sort of been constructed that have sort of taken some of the traffic, but it represents a really important access point for some people, and they feel quite emotional about the state of repair. And I'm hopeful at some stage in the future that there will be some refurbishment done for that road. But yeah, it was really nice to hear the boys come and talk about that and represent the views of some of the community. So that's all we have for you. Thank you very much for your time and for and all the things that you do for us in the coastal and Burwood wards. Thank you.
Kelly, thank you very much indeed. Are there any questions? No questions?
Great.
Thanks very much indeed for the update. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher.
Okay, so now we come to the Waimea, Fendleton, Waimari, Harewood Community Board and Chairperson Bridget Williams. So, Bridget, welcome to the table. Good to have you with us this morning.
Oh, thank you. I also have Marianne as well, Marianne Lomax. So unfortunately David couldn't make it today. Yes. Oh, thank you. You want quicker?
I'll clap.
Awesome, thank you. So we had a few decisions made under delegations. The first was approving new road names for subdivision at 40 Johns Road. The other was approving the extension for an existing bus stop terminus on Sheffield Crescent, and also approved the creation of a mobility park and time restrictions at the shops at 162 Kendall Ave, and also approved the change of reserve classification for Rotakahatu Reserve. And then moving on to public forum. So we were really excited to see that on the meeting that we had for the 2nd of August, we heard from Helena Parsons from Ilam Health. And she shared with us the plans for the new integrated health hub that is being built on the corner of Memorial Ave and Ilam Road. So there are the listed tenants, and you can see that a number of tenants are already confirmed, and this is going to be a fantastic medical facility for our residents. It will be opening in stages starting in November this year, with the official opening due to happen in April 2022. And more good news for the community is community projects such as Christchurch North Community Patrols. So you will all have community patrols operating in your areas. And you must obviously be aware of the fantastic work that they do. And the Christchurch North Community Patrols has the largest geographic patch of all patrols in New Zealand, and had unfortunately found themselves in the position of only having one patrol vehicle. So our board was happy to provide some financial support through our discretionary response fund to help them purchase a new vehicle. And the unveiling ceremony was held recently. The photo on the right is one of our board members, Jason Middlemiss, at the ceremony, and we also had Council McDonald. Sam was also there to represent our community board as well. And then to finish today, we thought we would do something a little bit different. So we know as elected members that media, particularly social media, can be pretty brutal at times, but we just want to acknowledge that council staff can also come under fire on a regular basis as well. And we just want to share a couple of examples where staff are doing a great job and deserve some extra thanks. And in particular, looking at Tessa Zant and Yanni Grief have been undertaking some great pre-engagement work with stakeholders along the proposed Norwest Arc cycleway in our area. People have said they have really appreciated the face-to-face contact and opportunity to talk through aspects of that project. And another community board bouquet is our second example is our wonderful arborist Dita. So the board had recently been contacted by victim support on behalf of a resident who had some tree issues. I'm not going to go into the exact details of that today, but within a couple of days, Dita had arranged an on-site visit with the resident and then organised for Tree Tech to undertake work to address the problem. this issue was resolved very quickly, and we just want to acknowledge Dieter and thank him for this. So those are just some two great examples of staff going the extra mile and be proactive, which we really appreciate. And that's our report. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. So you've left time for questions, if there are any questions. Tim.
Just also thank you for acknowledging staff. So many don't, so cheers.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much indeed. All right, look, thanks very much indeed for taking the time to update us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Great to have your news and update. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so next I would invite Mike Mora, chairperson of the Waipuna Hallswell Hornby Riccarton Community Board, to join us at the table. And Helen Broughton, deputy chair. Good to have you both with us. So news from the southwest.
Yes. Thanks very much for the opportunity, Andrew, to present our area report, our board report to you today. And if we can have somebody scroll through the buttons for us. Yes, $414,000 we've granted to 35 community groups, and you'll hear about some of that funding as we go on. The Templeton Community Safety Workshop was put together by Marie Byrne, visited the Templeton Resident Association, and safety issues was the key there. So there was 30 odd people came to the workshop, and the main issues were an issue in Kissel Street that's been going on and on and on for quite a while. I don't want to go and do any much detail on that. And the other is youth behaviour and stuff in the area. So the community are alerted to that. So hopefully there'll be some good outcomes on that. And our Hornby community, new Hornby Centre is coming underway, so everybody's really excited about that, and we have been consulting with groups to see, now that they know it's coming, to see what they would like to see in that as well. It's a little bit limited in community space, unfortunately, but we're very grateful for what we've got, and we just want to make maximum use of it. And this is the Heratone Youth Council, and just like to thank Councillor Galloway for the initiative with these young people from 6 primary schools in Hallswell, and also for Sam Holland from our community board staff for helping with that too. So that's just to get the views of the community, and they are working on some mural projects in Westlake. So well done for that team. And there we are, Helen. We had the community service youth awards held at the Te Hapua Hallswell Centre, and it was a very well organised function, and it was just so great. It's, as I said to the people there, it's just such an awesome opportunity to recognise the work that volunteers do in our community, and it's not only the volunteers, it's their families and support people as well. And a special thanks to the staff for working on that to make it such a successful event as well. And thanks for all the community board members coming along to support that, which was a really great night, very special for us. Summer with our neighbours, used to be Neighbourhood Week. And but anyway, as it started off here in Christchurch actually, and then it went nationwide. And correct, absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct. I remember it well. And that was a great initiative that did go nationwide. And then, unfortunately, the national body decided to spread it out in over a longer period of time. And I think it's still a great event, a great opportunity, but I think it's sort of taken that special focus out of it, Councillor Cotter, that we had when it was first initiated. So, but anyway, it's still alive and up and running, and there is an opportunity for groups to come to us. And what have we got next there? This is rather special. Now, as you can see there, Thomas McIntosh completed in the Tokyo Olympic Games. And I can remember when we first gave Thomas the money to go to Bulgaria and Poland, he came back to our community board when we were meeting at Fendalton and just thanked us for the opportunity that we made happen to him. Now this is rather spooky because today I was handed a memo that this brilliant young man had typed and sent to us from his hotel, and I just want to read this out if you don't mind, councillors. To the Horswell Hornby Riccarton Community Board. I write to you this memo from in the Crown Plaza MIQ facility upon returning from the Tokyo 2021 or 2020 Olympic Games, should be 2021, but anyway, 2020, sorry. I was privileged enough to win gold in the men's 8 at the Games after a long goal achieved much sooner than I ever could have imagined. In 2017-18, I was fortunate to be included in a youth development fund, to complete in the under-23 World Championships in Bulgaria and Poland. These sessions were instrumental in my career. I learnt key lessons in leadership, motivation and teamwork, 3 skills I carry through to the Olympic gold. Winning gold was amazing and I will cherish that moment for life. However, the most memorable part of the Games was all the support I received from the New Zealand community. We have an amazing community and I feel honoured to be a Kiwi wearing that fern in Tokyo. I strongly encourage you to support youth development through the Youth Development Fund for sport, and brings people together in a way like no other. From first-hand experience, I believe the Olympic Games has banded our whole nation together. Just like I was, the future Olympians are currently in Christchurch here today, Tom McIntosh. Now, how special was that for him in his hotel room to remember the funding that came from community boards, and all community boards give funding for youth development, but what a treasure it is to get a letter like that, and it just makes me feel really, really warm and fuzzy. And Andrew, we do have a Part A, which is on the speed limit reduction in Chandler Street, and I just want to say that our board support that. So I should have mentioned that actually at the start, that that's a Part A that's coming to you today, and our board are completely in support of that. So, Helen, do you want to add any more?
Absolutely fine.
Well, thanks very much once again for the opportunity, and we appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you.
All right, so Mike and Helen, thank you both very much indeed for presenting to us this morning. Are there any questions? Aaron.
Yes, thanks for that, Mike. And the story about Thomas is fantastic. I was just wondering, when you hear back from him once he's back in town, if he could come and do a deputation to full council on the East Lake and its benefits. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I'll suggest that
noting it wasn't a question, I'll come to Jimmy, who probably has got a question.
But Templeton, those community, the safety, the forum, that's very successful. Because while there's staff and facilitate, that's very successful. Everyone knows to contribute. But I'm concerned after, this forum, we need to follow up, particularly regarding to the park and reserve, community, the safety, this kind of issue, because the police didn't turn out. Otatahi Christchurch trust, community trust didn't turn out. So we need to follow up that kind of issue.
Yes, well, in answer to your question, I've been assured that staff will be following up with the community to get some outcomes from that and some actions, Jimmy. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. No further questions? All right, Mike, Helen, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next, I'll invite Alexandra Davids, the chairperson of the Waikura, Linwood Central Heathcote Community Board, to the table. Alex, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. News from your part of town.
Thank you. Kia ora, everybody. Thank you for having us here today. So we've already spoken to most of the items in the report last month. So today we'll be giving you an update on relevant happenings in the area, and we take the report as read. So our most recent community board meetings were held on the 14th of July and the 4th of August. We've had public forums in regards to parking around the Happy Hire site in Coleridge Street. And we've had Simone from Aotearoa Multicultural Women's Association, and also Hannah from who is our new community activation person with City Care. And also thanks to Nathaniel for presenting to us on the living wage. We have had several deputations. We've had Paul McMahon, who is a local resident, who was speaking in regards to issues in Radley Street. Pat McIntosh, who was speaking to the board regarding regrassing of the Beachville Esplanade, and also Shari Carter, who was a representative of the Curator's House restaurant. Moving on to the Curator's House, this is our part A to council today, and we did really appreciate having Shari Carter actually come and speak to us the day that we were looking at this lease decision, and as a board we do recommend that the council approve the lease for the Curator's House restaurant. Moving on to our Strengthening Communities funding, obviously we have put that through now. We're really excited to actually see the amount of community groups within our area doing amazing things. We also recognise the fact that there are a lot more community groups that are doing amazing stuff, and that is actually because the need is a lot higher. So we really just want to recognise those groups today for the work that they're doing in making our communities a better place. So thank you to all of them. And thank you for the money that we can give to them. In regards to our Bromley traffic update, this is something that is obviously ongoing. And at our 4th of August meeting, the board project funding was confirmed to fund a plan for the traffic in the Bromley area. This is to align projects and save costs to achieve the best outcome for the community in the area. It will enable the area plan of traffic projects to coordinate current spending, and so that the community groups and the board can advocate for future projects in the long-term plan and the annual plan. And we just want to say a massive thank you to staff for making this happen. On to the living wage. We would just like to, as a board, express our support for the living wage when you come to that decision today. Thanks again to Nathaniel. So Inner City East Revitalization Plan. So we now have our Revitalization Plan in place. So this plan has been community-led, and we would really like to say thank you to the members of the community, to Whare Roimata and our staff at Council for seeing the need of actually making this happen and putting it together. And this will allow this community that has really been affected by so many different happenings within that community to thrive again. So we're really excited that this revitalisation plan is in play. Also want to say a big thank you to Josh Neville and Rochelle. They were both really key staff members in putting this together, and neither of them are with us anymore. They're not dead. They've just left council. But really wanted to say thank you to them for their work in making that happen. Another board plan priority has been the greening of the east, which you all know because I talk about it frequently. But we're really excited to see this come to fruition. We want to thank the community members and staff for helping ensure our east side concrete jungle shall not be much longer a concrete jungle. We just want to say a massive thank you to everybody involved within council and all of the community groups. And this is an ongoing thing, but we are really excited about the future of the inner city east. We have had a fungi farm opening, like we all love a good mushroom. And so this fungi farm is actually a really fantastic thing. So it's going to provide education for our tamariki and for our communities. They are holding information days which actually show people what mushrooms are safe and what are not, what are fun and what are not. I would really recommend people to get down there. It's really beautiful. They have this awesome nature play area for children as well, and yeah, it's just a really cool area. So congratulations to the team for putting that together. On to the Enviro Hub with the Revolution team. So many people have got together for like we all want to live sustainably, right? But a lot of people don't actually know how to live sustainably. So the Revolution team have got this hub up and running, well, almost completely up and running. But you can go there and you can actually learn how to live sustainably. So they teach you how to collect water and basically just how to do everything magical in your house. So just want to give them a massive shout out, and thanks to everybody that popped along to the Working Bee the other week. We had the Student Volunteer Army, City Care, and heaps of members from the community, just making sure that it was all beautiful and amazing for that education for our future generations. We have had a series of neighbourhood walks in our board area in conjunction with Te Poutahi, and we have our last coming up this Sunday in the Linwood area. They've been really popular, and it's great to see communities actually coming together to talk about their areas and learn about the history within their areas. Kind of gives people a sense of feeling like they belong again. So they've been really important and very educational. We have the opening of Te Poituitui coming up on the 1st of October. So we've asked the community to be involved in this, and there's a lot of groups that are actually coming together that want to be involved in the opening. So we're just really excited to invite you all on the 1st of October to our opening, and it's just so good. We beat you, Hornby, as well, so yeah. Thank you. Okay, and we are also excited to invite you all to our Sustainability Charter launch, which is going to be next Friday on the 20th. So we've looked at what we do as a council and as a board, and we've also recognised the amazing mahi that's already happening in our communities and networks. We're making sure that we improve resilience and preparedness for our future generations in regards to the impact of climate change. So there's a lot of work that's been done on the Sustainability Charter, and we're just wanting to make sure that we are recognising the work that we are doing, but also need to continue doing to live more sustainable lives within our communities. And with that, I would just like to say a massive thank you to Rochelle Faimalo and Emily Toes, who have been our fantastic staff members, which we have lost from our community board. Again, they're not dead, they've just left. But we are losing staff members from our board, and we do want to make sure that we are recognising the work that they have done. So thank you. Sorry,
Great.
it was very talky.
That's all right. Thank you very much indeed. Are there any questions? Pauline.
Yes, thanks, Alex. So this one here that's coming up next Friday.
Yeah.
So what's some more details? Whereabouts is it?
We will be having it at our boardroom area in the community gardens, 180 Smith Street.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll send it, if you've not already got it, we'll make sure we send the invitation out.
Thank you. Cool.
Love
Great.
to have you.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for the presentation.
Cheers.
Good to have you with us. Thank you. All right, and then last but not least, Emma Norrish and Simon Britton, so Chair and Deputy Chair of the Waipapa Papanui Innis Community Board. Welcome to the table. Thank you for joining us.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you for having us along here today. We in July had a quiet month meeting-wise, but there's still been a lot going on in the background. And at our meeting last week, we allocated our Strengthening Communities funding for the year, which we granted funds to 36 different groups. And we'd like to thank Council for not going ahead with the 5% cut to that funding, which was proposed in the original long-term plan. But we would also like to note that our board is still struggling to meet our community's needs with that current amount of funding that we have this year. This one here is on Innis Road. We have two schools in close proximity to each other, and they were both having issues with cars not stopping at the crossings for the schools. We've been working on this with the board and staff and the schools for a few years now. A couple of years ago, electronic Belisha discs and upgraded crossing systems were put in, but even since that, there were still reports of near misses and actually cars hitting the stop signs when they were out. It's not a speed issue, because there's a lot of traffic travels along that road at those times. It's a behavioural one, so red coloured surfacing has now been put in on the two crossings, and we've had really positive feedback from both the schools and the community about that, so that's really good to hear.
Report back on a youth project from July. We had the Dusk Till Dawn event, which is happening biennially in the area. An acknowledgement too to the Waimario Fenelton Waimairi Herwood Board, who also support this event. We had 150 young people taking part and over 40 volunteers from local youth organisations and also council staff. Dusk Till Dawn is 8 p.m. till 8 a.m, continuous 12-hour youth event, including taking in the trampoline centre, Antarctic Centre. Where else did we go? Graham Condon into the gym, off for a swim, off to the movies, and more. Empire Chicken in the middle of the night, dance competition and other things. My own boy came back and slept for about 24 hours after that. So, yeah, really, really good effort from the young people who took part, but also all of those who all helped organise it, including our Youth Advisory Committee and council staff.
This is another project we've got going on in the area, which is progressing well. The Parks team are continuing their amazing work alongside Paparoa Street School and Rutland Reserve. They've got a focus on connecting the reserve with the school and the local community. They've now got monitoring tunnels in place in the reserve and an insect hotel. And there's been a lot of planting going on, and the school is also working with Ngai Tahu on a new name for the reserve. So it's great to see that happening.
Last month we reported a planting day at Papanui Bush had to be deferred because of weather and conditions in that stormwater reserve where the plantings are happening. That has now gone ahead. This project's been really well supported by council rangers and by council with provision of plants and other support for the project. Also, just this past week, there's been another planting day again, which included also volunteers from the community, including staff from Mitre 10, Torpedo 7, students from Casebrook Intermediate School and University of Canterbury. So, yeah, thanks to Rotary Club of Papanui in particular who've been driving that project. It's great to see it really coming along.
And finally, the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust hosted a bus trip for Trust volunteers, council and ECAN elected members and staff, and also Water Zone Committee members. It was looking at the work that the Trust is doing along the whole of the Sticks catchment and their plans for the future, and also highlighting some of the issues along the river. One of those issues which they wanted to bring to our attention was the encroachment of fencing onto the 10 metres setback, which is public land on either side of the river, especially along the lower reaches down by Spencerville and Brooklands. So we appreciate the work that that trust is doing in there. And that's us for today.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Are there any questions? Yanni.
Just any update on the Langdons Road safety audit? Like, when are you expecting to get that, and when is any time frame for any action actually solving that issue?
We're still working with staff and the transport unit on progressing the issues down there.
Anything that we can do to help as a council?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, there's no time frame, so.
So are you let's ask a further question. Are you comfortable with the way that the matter's been dealt with?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you don't have a time frame for a resolution.
No.
You're not the chair.
Okay, so the board is comfortable with the way that matter is progressing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Mike?
The board's not comfortable with how things are happening, but we're aware of what's happening and we are working to try and get a resolution on it. The amount of traffic that has increased in that area is shocking, and the consent issues around there is a concern, but we are working behind the scenes with council staff to try and get resolution for that area because we know it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, so it's in hand?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Tim? Oh, no, okay. False alarm. That's all right. So thank you very much indeed for the presentation. So that brings us to the end of the monthly report from the community boards. Pauline, you're indicating you'd like to move this? All right, and do I have a second? Mike will second. All right, so Pauline and Mike. Is there any debate? Yanni?
I had an additional resolution that I've emailed through to staff.
So an additional resolution, do we have some wording?
Yeah. The council requests staff to install 2 EV chargers at the Te Poi Toi Toi Linwood Pool in time for the October 1st opening, to be funded through the LTP EV charging fund budget.
So this is your wording. As previously requested, ask staff to report back to the Waikura Linwood Central Heathcote Community Board.
No.
So that's not?
No.
Okay. Yeah, John, do you want to come to the table? So, Yanni, this is... So you had some wording that you've put forward. Obviously, staff have... Okay, so you've got some wording that you put forward. Staff have got some advice on that, which has resulted in this.
Yes.
John, do you want to take us through it, and then let's work this through?
Yeah. I've had a conversation with the head of transport, the head of recreation, sports and events, and the board chair. There is a commitment for staff to report back to the board on the provision of EV chargers. That information is not far away. It will be staff's goal to work with the board in the same manner that they've worked throughout the whole Te Poi Toi Toi project to ensure that these facilities are installed, ideally by opening, but we can't guarantee, just in case the equipment isn't available at that time. So we believe by reporting back to the board, continuing the same process that we've agreed to do, using the same project frameworks, we'll get the result that everyone is hoping for.
So, Yanni, your original resolution that you put forward was to do what?
We have a council budget that we've established to fund EV chargers.
No. Well, I'm trying to get to the bottom of what it is that you put forward, which is different than this.
It's to use the budget that we've got on our LTP that wasn't available when the board had agreed to the Linwood
You're still not answering the question. What is the resolution that you put forward, which is not this?
The council requests staff to install 2 EV charging stations at Te Poi Toi Toi Linwood Pool in time for its opening on October 1st, to be funded via the EV charging fund that was established as part of the 21-31 LTP.
All right, so you were asking for us to make a decision today to do that,
if that
rather than asking
can I just say, if staff don't think that can happen, and I've been seeking this advice since July 22nd, so you can understand the frustration.
Yeah, okay.
Could we get a report back to the Sustainability Committee on the 25th of August? This is a council budget. I presume it requires a council resolution, not a report back to the board. We're running out of time, which is why there's a degree of urgency.
Okay, so presumably the reason for the change to the wording has been because we didn't have the information in front of us to make this decision today. Yes. So we've got a suggestion from staff as to how it can best be handled. Yanni is now suggesting we bring it to a committee rather than back to the board. John, your comment on that, please.
The board have asked for this information. Yep. A process is underway going back to the board the project is being governed and led by the board very successfully. One, staff feel there's a lot of merit in keeping these existing processes going. Secondly, the objective of installing EV chargers there will probably be achieved soonest and most effectively by this resolution, reporting back to the board, doing what we were originally going to do rather than choosing a different course of action now. However, if council has a different view, we'll follow whatever process we're advised to take.
I got told the report to the board would come back on October 6th, which is 5 days after the polls opened.
So when is the report coming back to the board?
We'll bring it back as soon as we can. I've heard from Nigel Cox, the head of Recreation, Sports and Events, that the information will almost certainly be ready by the 20th of August.
Which is before the committee meeting that Yanni mentioned anyway. Yanni, are you happy to move this wording?
Just want a report where we can actually make the decision to spend the money. I don't know from staff, because I've been unable since July 22nd to find out what resolution's required to allocate the money that we've already got on budget towards a simple thing. I mean, it should be a straightforward, simple
all I'm trying to do is to get some wording that we can either get moved and seconded or not. John, are you happy for the words reports back to the community board on the 20th of August to be added in here?
There's no meeting on the 20th.
Or as soon as possible afterwards, because it might not clash with board meetings.
Well, maybe we just say as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, yep.
Could we get it, then I don't even know when the next board meeting is. It's ways away. Could we get it to the sustainability? I guess what I want to understand from staff is, does that fund need a resolution of council, or can it be delegated to the community board? I just want the decision to be made as soon as possible, given that we've got funding on budget.
So when it comes to the board, can the board make a decision?
There is an option that will be presented where the board can make a decision.
All right. So, Yanni, back to you. Are you comfortable to move this wording?
No, I want it to come to the Sustainability and Community Resilience Committee on the 25th.
It would have been really good if this had been sorted out before the meeting, so that we had wording moved that you were confident in. So tell us what you want to move, and then let's see if there's a seconder for it. Can you give me the wording that you want to move?
I already told you that. It's so...
Or not?
The simple thing is, okay, high level, we've got money on budget that we agreed to.
Can we not debate a motion which is not yet on the table?
How do we access that money? There's a board meeting on the 18th of August. So if you want to put 18th of August report in, fine. I just want the decision to be made as soon as possible, given that the pool has been handed over to us from the contractor, and we've got very limited time in terms of getting these things in.
All right, so this is what you want to move.
He's not moving or seconding anything, because Councillor Cochran and Councillor Davids have moved the report.
So he's moving an amendment, actually. Yeah, he's moving an amendment, actually. So is there a seconder for this amendment?
One amendment, this one.
Yeah. Number 2. So the report has been moved and seconded. Yanni's now moving an amendment to it. Is there a seconder for the amendment? Is this the word? Can we not debate something which is not yet on the table? Do you want to move this wording or do you not?
That's fine. If it can be reported back for 18th of August, not with advice on decision-making options for installing 2 EV chargers. It's fine.
All right, so let's put that wording in. Decision-making options for installing. All right, so that's now what you want to move as an amendment. Okay, is there a seconder for that amendment? So Sarah will second. Okay, great. All right. If this is passed, is it capable of being implemented? Can you do the thing that we're asking for?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, all right, great. All right, so now there are some questions. Mike?
I'm just trying to work out. So we created a citywide fund, and that's actually going to be able to go to a community board so a councillor can get his project sorted.
The resolution says the EV charging budget and any other funding options.
So, but I just want to make sure that if we're looking at an EV fund, charging fund, which was based around a partnership model with businesses, that actually the community board will have delegation to be able to spend money, which we don't know how much is. It could actually exhaust the whole fund, which is a citywide fund.
Bring it back to Sarah's committee. I don't care. I just want us to.
Can we get an answer from staff, please? John.
It says on decision-making options, Chair.
And any other funding options, I'd like to go back and discuss the funding options, but there will be funding options. The decision can be made and agreed, and it won't involve the EV charging budget.
Well, that's completely against what I'm trying to do, right? We've got money that we voted for in the LTP.
Are we in
All I
debate?
want
We're asking questions of staff, and we've had the answer. If there's something that you want to raise in debate, then please do. Tim and then Sarah. Tim.
Thank you. Along the same lines as Mike, but slightly different. With regards to the EV plan, for instance, that was a citywide fund which we're going to partnership, as we've heard, with businesses and try and get more funds, etc. So we do need an understanding of where the best place is as a citywide plan, but this is totally bypassing that in the sense that there could be other areas that are black holes described.
All right, sticking with questions for the moment, Sarah.
Right. So, complete agreement with Yanni about getting some EV chargers installed on the site. The way that this is worded, John, that means that where there are options, there might be options that the community board doesn't necessarily have delegation to make a final decision on, but may need to come back to council. Is that right? So we could be so the paper may include a recommendation to council for funding. It may include things that are within staff delegation, for example, that particular fund, because the way that that fund was set up in the past was a partnership stuff that was done through staff delegation, and that was the intent of it this time. All of those kind of things. But the options would give the appropriate decision-making framework for each of them. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you for the question. At the risk of not overcomplicating this process has been led by the board. The board has led the development of the pool. One of the options that we would come back with is that the EV chargers are delivered out of the project budget, but with the blessing of the board. There's scope to do that. We've had a discussion with the chair of the steering group, and that's possible. We would just like to discuss that with the board to make sure we're fitting in the right equipment, and we could do that within the project budget.
Given that all we're doing is asking for a report to come back to a community board.
All it is a report on options.
It really is quite simple.
I don't want to spend a heap of time. You know, I mean, the questions are valid, but the report will come, it'll say what it says, it'll be dealt with how it's dealt with. It's a matter that's already in train anyway. I don't want to spend a heap of time on it this morning. Pauline?
Okay.
All right, good. Jake?
If we're in debate, I'm happy to put a closure motion and just vote on this.
All right, so, well, that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Are there further, there are no further questions on this?
So one of the options could be from that report is to come back to the Sustainability and Resilience Committee if it needed a council decision.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that could come on the 25th, right? Because all the work will be done on the 18th.
We've got the resolution in front of us. Staff are already doing some work on it. You'll get a report to your board on the 18th of August. Wherever it goes from there, it goes from there. But that's a debate for that day, not for today. Yep. All right, great. So the mover and second are happy for this to be included in the motion?
Yes.
Or do we need to deal with it as amendment?
I'm happy.
Mike? Yep, all right, so we'll just include that in the motion. Is there any debate? Yanni?
This is what really frustrates our residents. When we set budgets, we make a decision like in the LTP, and then we have these most complicated, convoluted processes to do what seems very, very sensible. So, you know, apologies for the complication today, but this was the advice was sought on the July 22nd, and it still hasn't come back. You know, this should just be a no-brainer. We've got a budget, we've got a whole EV charging strategy that we've got as a council, and why wouldn't we use a budget that we've set up, especially for this purpose, rather than using it to help private landowners put in EV charging stations, but not do it on our own facilities? So, you know, I just think, you know, I certainly would never have supported that budget if I'd known that this was going to preclude council being able to put it into our own projects, because it seems inherently sensible to me that when we're building a facility, to do it at the same time rather than come back later is much more cost efficient and effective. So I hope people support this. Originally I was told it would come back on the 6th of October, which is 5 days after the pool had opened, which just seemed crazy. So I'm glad we can get some priority to this. It is a sensible thing to do, and I look forward to it happening.
Thank you. Mike? No? All right. Tim?
Yeah, look, thank you. I think what frustrates our residents as well, our ratepayers, is that when promises are made that can't be fulfilled. We have a process with regards to the EV, and I totally support the EV charging process, but I'm not supporting this today because I don't believe this is the right process. There are black holes with regards to EV charging throughout Christchurch and throughout cities in New Zealand. It's kind of new and we're getting into it, but there's a process, and so to kind of support one over another without actually looking at the whole picture and the whole strategy and what we're trying to achieve, I think is ridiculous. And so I will not be supporting this motion today.
I'll put the two motions separately. So I'll put the first one, receiving the report. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. And I'll put the second one, which is this new wording that we've just been talking about in the last few minutes. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? No. So the noes. So 3 people against. So Scandrett, Cowan and Davidson. And that's carried. Thank you very much indeed.